Welcome, everybody. How you doing?
Hey,
Tonight, Bounty BS with me and the nerds here. How's everyone doing?
A little bit of nerd court going on in the background.
Yeah.
The regular Nerd Encyclopedia music. I like fading that in so people know.
We're back. We're back.
Confetti cannons all around.
Everyone's excited. Welcome, everybody, to our episode. This is going to be our review of Star Wars Resistance Season 1, Episodes 1 through 4. Dave Filoni project with some of the main cast from the sequel trilogy. We're excited to talk about it. We hope you're excited to hear about it. Before we get started into the meat and potatoes of the episode, you know how we do it here. DP, take it away. Tell them where they can find us.
All right, nerdcyclopedia.com, people. Your favorite website where we get all your favorite social media platforms from us at Nerdcyclopedia. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and also on TikTok. All right. If you are watching us on, if you're listening to us in your car, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, we're on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube Music, anywhere that you hear your favorite podcast, we are there. If you are watching us on YouTube, thank you. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, hit that notification button so anytime that we're on, you know that we're on. If you are watching us on Facebook, thank you as well. We're at Carbonate Bounty BS, a Star Wars group. Make sure you join our group. You know, if you have some friends, make sure you share and join.
If you have friends.
If you have friends, hey, it used to be where a nerd, had minimum amount of friends and everything. Now it's just a explosion of your brethren just all around and everything. So you got friends, make sure that you share that and go back and share our show. Make sure that you leave us an email too. We're nerds@nerdcyclopedia.com. So we live getting all your feedback and you let us know how we are.
That's right. We wouldn't know without you telling us how we are. Oh, I don't know what I think about the zoom in. Thank you so much, DP, for leading us off there. So
don't zoom in too much.
So I tell you what, Ken, why don't you give us a brief overview of what this show is, like what it covers, what time period it is, that sort of stuff, and I'll kind of kick us off.
Absolutely. And I got to start with, where was this? How come I didn't know about it? So it gives us a development of characters that we were kind of thrown into with Force Awakens, like the whole Resistance, the whole Poe Dameron. Who is that? The First Order. It gives us some backstory, and what I like is it's starting real small, real granular. We're getting the public's view. They're talking about like the outer rim, the known galaxy. I'm getting vibes like best star pilot in the galaxy. Kaz is an excellent character. I mean, has Luke written all over him. I mean, he's looking at the stars, wanting to see something else. His family is getting down on him, won't let him do what he wants to do, won't let him join the Resistance, won't let him be a starfighter, a star pilot. He's got to kind of sneak away. And he meets Poe Dameron, who sees a spark of brightness in this kid. Just like Han. Han saw something in Luke. Hey, kid, you're kind of good at a fight. Why don't you come with us? I mean, he saw this like energy. I love the writing. The animation style reminds me of kind of early 90s video game animation where things were still drawn. Things were still drawn by hand and has that real like blocky but fine quality to it. So the characters and the emotions of the characters really come through. I mean, I dig the whole presentation. The music is great. The characters so far, we got lots of nice droids. We have aggressors. We see a little bit of the First Order. And if you ask me, First Order started out, they're pretty much a mess because here they are hiding. They hide in hyperspace. Pretty much they're hiding. And I'm really excited to get some exposure with Captain Phasma, because here's a character that we saw in Force Awakens, which the character had some good scenes, but really no development. Like, who is this, and what's her importance? And it's female, and we've never seen that before, so it definitely deserves a backstory and some development. So here we have season 1 of 2 seasons of, I think, what, 48 episodes total, something in that realm,
right?
So we're going to get some good stories, some great characters. We're going to see Poe go from just a fighter pilot to a general, where we kind of see him dropped in Force Awakens. But I loved it. I watched actually the episodes. I went up to 9, but then I went back and watched 1 through 4 a couple times. I thought, this needs some. And I love the reference of Fireball, the ship that explodes, and Fireball, and Jaeger was a great guy, super spooky, weird. Can't wait to see what happens with him, but I loved it. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Go ahead, DP.
Well, I was about to say, ladies and gentlemen, T. Mitch is in the house.
Yeah.
He's back.
Cool. Now I feel so much better down here.
He is in the corner there, guys.
Ooh. Feels natural. So D Mitch, so we had Ken just kind of go over what the show was about, what was it, what he liked, that sort of stuff. I gotta say this. My number one feedback on this is it's interesting to see this like racing. Like, is it racing? Is it is it like, fightering? It's hard to kind of pin down what this what this structure, this thing is, this like red herring they're doing is. But I'm interested to see how this episode fleshes out the politics of the post-Jedi world and how it ends up with, you've got the New Republic, which has a military, but they're staying out of stuff. And that makes the resistance thing make a little bit more sense, right? Some offshoot branch of the New Republic military that's just going to keep on fighting like those Japanese guys that were fighting on the islands until like 1967 or something, and wouldn't believe under any circumstances that Japan surrendered, right? Like, you could never convince them. So that's very interesting. The First Order being a myth is also a very interesting development, because they're very, we're never really presented that piece of information during the sequel trilogy, I don't think. And it's obvious why. They're doing stuff and they're real. So the idea that they're just sort of rumored and in deep space and they're still building this enormous Death Star already, like it's already under construction, is interesting. I like Kaz, man. Kaz is a cool character. I like all the droids. What's that droid's name? Like Bucket. Like that droid. C4 is cool. Yeah. He's got a cool paint job. Yeah. That's like a cool. I like that droid paint job with the yellow and the blue, like the old school X-Men. You know what I mean? I like that a lot. I like those. Yeah, it's like minion colors. I know we're all partial to minions in this group. So I really enjoyed it a lot. What'd you think, T. Mitch?
No, I concur with what you guys have already said, probably. But the animation style was the first thing when I started it off. It was like that 90s kind of, like, I call it like Neo Tokyo style, the way it's drawn. Kind of like that, like Naruto type look. And I really, really, really enjoyed the animation part. But no, I mean, it just seems like, and I don't want to be like negative on anything, but like this seems to me like this is like Filoni's wheelhouse. This, like, he has this animation stuff like literally down pat. Like everything he does with animation, it just seems like it's a hit, regardless of the medium. I mean, we saw the different styles they even let other people do when we talked about Tales of the Jedi, right? And just, I mean, he didn't necessarily produce every episode, but he's still overseeing the whole project. So it just, this animation stuff is great. These episodes being like 20 to 28 minutes, great time to tell these stories. And it kind of makes us kind of wonder, like, we talked about, in live TV when we talked about, like Mandalorian, Boba Fett and all this stuff, like this guy just has the timing down right. He can tell an episode and get in and out, and this is a DP being a storyteller. Really appreciated this. Like, this guy just has this natural knack for being able to deliver something regardless of the circumstances, right? And that's something I really appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, you actually brought up a point where I wasn't even going towards. I think once he starts grasping the live action, he'll get a lot better.
Right. Exactly.
The animation, like you said, he just has it down, like, you know, plot wise, you know, how to tell a story, especially in a 25 to 28 minute, you know, set, you know, get in, get out, you know, and just develop the flow with the characters, the dialogue and everything. I didn't really get into it until the 4th episode. So I was just when I introduced the characters and everything, especially someone like Kaz, which is, I'm saying, this guy, is he an idiot, or is he just like, is he just like, you know, real naive? You know, Poe, I love the fact that it's on Poe, and I was trying to put down where did this exactly take place in the timeline and everything. When seeing Phasma, you know, so Poe hasn't even met Finn and Rey yet, right?
No, yeah, this is all before.
This is all before.
That's the
okay. All right. So yeah, that was where I was, you know, getting a little confused and stuff. But delving with, I had no idea what the show was about. Didn't even know Poe was going to be on there. I just said, okay, let's try this and, you know, see where it was. Like T-Mitch said, you know, I'm digging the animation style. It's different from what we've been seeing with like Dave Filoni stuff. So I'm glad they're trying. You know, they tried something just different. It is more, I don't want to say more, but it's a little bit more in a younger type of realm and everything. But I am excited to see where it goes as far as the development of the First Order. You know, I would have wanted more, at least for the first episode. I know they're trying to set up things, but seeing a lot more of the First Order and how they're developing. But I'm, like I said, the 4th episode got me with the almost where the guy, I forget his name, you know, he stole the hyper fuel. You know, he stole the hyper fuel from Jaeger's thing. And
what's his name? Rucklin.
Yeah, Rucklin. Yeah. And almost got himself killed. So now we get, like, you know, those group of characters, you know, interesting characters and everything. And we still got Cash just trying to figure things out. So you get his personality, you sort of get used to it, you know. But yeah, it's fair to me so far. Like I said, the 4th episode just, you know, grew on me. That was my favorite episode so far.
Yeah, and I wondered his dad.
What about the Steel City delivery yet?
Whoa!
Oh man, special guest star.
Special guest star. Oh!
Hey. She's growing. Oh my goodness.
Oh, you pulled my cable out.
I remember when they was that.
Oh my. Oh my. All right.
What were you saying, Ken?
So Kaz's dad is a politician.
Sorry, guys.
Now, is he the one? Is he the one that gives everyone so much grief in the series? With
you mean like was Luthen?
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking? Potentially. I mean, it makes sense to slot him in there, but
because I think it's the same name. He's a senator, and he's just against everything. I mean, he's against the resistance, and he's against making waves. And 3PO even had a conflict with, you know, confrontation with him when he was trying to call Leia out. And even the conversations that just through hologram with Kaz and his dad, I got the impression that he's like one of those guys that's gonna allow the First Order to take power, because he's not going to step up. You know, he's not gonna see the light and see, oh wow, there's this, you know, they're in the, they're hidden right now, but there's this thing coming, this Star Killer base, and there's this resistance, and he's the one that's like, oh no, don't make waves, and I don't want any part of that, you know.
Yeah, that's why I'm a little confused. They're like, it's like their knowledge of history and everything. They either they can't see the forest before the trees, or they're just like, they're letting things happen all over again. You know, I mean, I know we see where the story is eventually going to go with like the sequel trilogy and stuff, but to watch them just slowly have to go through this again is like, okay, this this galaxy here. You know?
So history repeats itself, and the biggest hypocrisy that we have right now is that the fact that it does, and we continue to let it repeat itself.
Let it happen.
And even if we see something is, you know what, this whole thing going on in Israel, I mean, that's a travesty, and it's all based on dogma that's hundreds and hundreds of years old that just doesn't make sense today. You know, right. A lot of it. It just doesn't make sense. And we're just letting it all happen. So here's this resistance that's trying to make a change. And they're doing it small. They're doing it like Poe sees this kid, and this kid's got a spark, and we're okay. Well, I'm just going to use him on this mission. We just want to find out what's going on with this racing community, because there's something lascivious going on. And we see these players, this sort of mafia, you know, Godfather type of thing, where they're trading parts or, you know, whatever they're doing to make better ships, to race, to win. And that's the whole like Phantom Menace vibe too. And you start to get this corrupt sort of, I don't know, in industry. And then all of a sudden there's the money, and the money's been laundered, and nobody knows where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And I think that's great, because I think there's a piece of Star Wars that goes all the way to its core that's about the seedy underworld of Galaxy. And that's where Han's from. That's the cantina. It's and some of the plot and some of what makes Star Wars, the original Star Wars, interesting is the mixing of those things. You know, you have Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's this like Jedi gentleman, you know, from the core of the galaxy, right? He's from Coruscant. He lives on Coruscant. He's been the center of power. He's meeting the Chancellor, you know, fighting against the Emperor and stuff. Like, he personally knows him. Like, he would call him Sheev, right? Like, he would call Darth Vader Anakin for sure. Yeah. At first, right? Like, he knows all these people, and then you mix it together with this dive bar in the middle of nowhere where all these people are doing shady business and betting on, you know, chess or whatever. And I think bringing that organically to a place where that should be around a racing like group, right? It should be shady. They should be betting pink slips and, you know, betting money on who's going to win. And there should be loan sharks, and there should be all this stuff that should exist in this market, because, you know, that's always crops up around competitive athletics or racing or, you know, whatever. Gambling just always shows up. And anytime you have gambling, you end up with the seedy underbelly of people lending money and selling death sticks and doing all that sort of stuff.
And if you get that into the right hands, they can start to control it and move it and mold it and do what they want with it, because now they're in the background, but they're in control of all the money. They're controlling the money. And, you know, the biggest thing was getting the Hutts to come on board. And, you know, that was a big deal in that particular timeline. Now we're seeing sort of the same thing, but now we're 50 years in the future, and it's all happening again.
Right.
Yeah.
For some reason, the New Republic just is neutral in all this, and it's so weird that there's like, it's almost like there's this. It's like the UN, the UN,
too pacifistic
the EU,
about everything.
Yeah, it's like the UN, the EU, NATO, and Russia. If we're talking about that, like, I know you brought up Gaza situation, so let's talk about the Ukraine situation, where like Ukraine isn't part of NATO, and NATO's kind of fighting against Russia, but in a proxy way by funding Ukraine, and the resistance is sort of like Ukraine, right? Where they're on the front line, they're taking, you know, the brunt,
taking the hit,
and then there's some of the members of the New Republic are funding that. but because of the fifth columnists, the imperial people that are ensconced in the bureaucracy and are representing imperial interests, because there were probably some planets that did pretty well under the Empire and benefited significantly. So there's probably a constituency there, which I guess we're all sort of understanding more in our lifetime now, which is interesting, right? But there's this weird, complicated relationship between the Resistance and the New Republic, and for some reason, a fighter pilot in the New Republic can be a spy in the Resistance rather than a fighter pilot in the Resistance. Okay, like, you know what I mean? And the person that should be picking the spies is the best fighter pilot. I to me, that's a little odd, but whatever. That we just had to do that to get to where the racing is and where where Yeager's garage is, right?
And for him to even pick Kaz as the one, no, and seeing how Kaz just reacts to his relation, well, his I guess development as a spy, and seeing like, okay, you know, well, he said he made the one comment to Yeager about well, don't they know I'm resistance or whatever? He's like, half the people don't even know that there's a such thing as a resistance, you know,
or the first order. They don't know.
You know, they don't know. So I was just a little frustrated. It's like he should be taking this a little bit more seriously. Then I had to pause and be like, okay, we're still early on in his character development. So it's kind of like how it was in the beginning of the Clone Wars, when we're sort of like getting used to Ahsoka's, you know, relationship, you know, her development and right, and sort of like, you know, in a way with what's his name over in Rebels?
Ezra?
Yeah, Ezra. You know, he wasn't as annoying or whatever as Kaz, but he was sort of
he'll grow on you. I mean, think about it. Luke was pretty annoying. I mean, Luke was whiny, and if you watch,
I want to go to Tashi Station and pick up some power converters.
If you watch outtakes, like the whole Tashi Station scene, if you watch that, I know why it's on the floor. I mean, I get it because I wouldn't have been half as interested in Biggs. I wouldn't have been half as interested in Luke. That whole scene was pretty much trash. Now, it got developed a little bit. Like, we got a whole like Tashi Station sort of vibe in Mandalorian, you know, with the parts and wanting to get away, and like you know, a little bar and some fighting. You know, I got a little bit of that, but I mean, face it. I mean, what we have here is Filoni's like really, and like I started my review. Where was this? And if you Google this show, that's the first question people ask. Like, where was this? Why is this not?
It's not talked about. It's not really as it's Clone Wars and Rebels, and this still is Dave Filoni's show, but it's not talked about. I want to say,
you know why it missed the, you know why the show missed a boat? Because episode 7 did so well off the bat that people, this was like the precursor leading up to episode 7. But then episode 7 happened and people were so excited for The Force Awakens that this kind of got swept under the rug. It came out maybe.
Everyone's got to forget Force Awakens for a minute.
So this aired October of 18 to March of 19. And I believe that is that overlaps with the release of The Last Jedi. I believe, because I think The Last Jedi was Christmassy of 2018. Am I right on that, or was it, or am I wrong?
I'm pretty sure it's Christmas of 18. You're right.
Okay, so if that's the case, that's what happened. Everyone was real interested to see where they were developing all those ideas from episode 7, right? And we wanted to know about all these things were going to matter, and we wanted to see how all of it was going to tie in, and that's what this show was selling you. And then you didn't care anymore because The Last Jedi went in a completely different direction, which again it's right to do. It's its own thing. But when we're talking about the synergy of these products, you know, after The Last Jedi, you're not thinking about the Resistance as a thing. It doesn't exist anymore. It's pretty much destroyed by the First Order in that movie. Like, that's the story of the final death of this thing. So we know it's not successful, right? And so why do we care about how it was developed or the history of it, right?
We should care. We should care, and that's why the mastermind behind this did this. So there was some plot development, there was some characters, and if you were interested, you'd have to search pretty hard with your internet magnifying glass to find this show because it really wasn't out there. But
so
such a shame.
It says here that Last Jedi came out in 2017, and this ran from 18 to 20.
So it was the year before. Okay. So this was produced after Last Jedi to kind of tie it back into The Force Awakens. Does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds right. And people
plausible.
were so disheartened with the way that trilogy ended that we didn't even want to watch Star Wars anymore.
There we go.
We were just like over it.
I love this.
We were just like over it.
So maybe what I'm saying is correct, but for The Rise of Skywalker, where because here's another question. Here's the perfect example of the difference between those two movies, right? Is Kaz Force sensitive or not? Right?
Oh, don't go there, please, Ed.
Every time he's reaching for something, yet. I'm like, is it going to move? What's going on? Is that why he's such a good pilot?
Well, he let those engines go into the ocean and everything, so that's just like
because he only thinks he can use what he has in his hand. He doesn't know yet, so
he doesn't know yet, huh?
Give him a chance. Give him a chance. Give him a chance.
I just think there should be an answer. There should be an answer to the question. And it goes something like this, right? If you have 100 beings from this universe, 100 sentient beings, right? How many of them are force sensitive? Is it like 0? It's like 1 in 10,000. Is it like 6 out of 100? And the difference should be borne out in how the media talks about it, right? So in The Last Jedi, you would think, anybody can be a Jedi, right? You think that, this guy probably has some force sensitivity, but then you go to Rise of Skywalker and you think, nope. Like, could I be a Jedi? No,
you couldn't.
Can anybody be a Jedi? Anybody named Skywalker or Palpatine? Is that what your name is? Nope. The answer is no, then, boss. It's just how it is. And it seems like Kaz's dad is like one of those Imperial loyalists, right? Like he's kind of like just to pick a name who's just very partisan, like Mitch McConnell. If Mitch McConnell had a kid and it was a fighter pilot and was spying, was spying for a radical left-wing Democratic group that felt that they had to do that in order to stop a second insurrection or something like that, right? That would be a shocking thing, and it would be it'd be a source that you would definitely want if you were one of those shadowy groups.
He wouldn't promote it, and he would step on him, and you get this like feeling of like, this is the first time Kaz has made decisions on his own, and that he keeps saying that. He keeps saying, I tried to do the right thing and I failed because it's the first time that I'm not going to my dad, my family for help. And his dad even pulled that card, like, every time you talk to me about money, you always need them.
Right.
I'll tell you, who his dad is? His dad is the typical American father who's the high school quarterback's coach. That is who his dad is. And it plays out like, I've given you everything. I got you a scholarship into college. He said it like, I got you the training. Like, this is what you do for me. Like, bro, like,
look what you did.
You're living vicariously through your child.
I made you a district champion. Exactly. District 17 champion. I made that. You were nothing when you got to me.
And how about them bringing the Neimoidians in as the agent, the Neimoidian, what is his name? Heller.
Yeah.
That took guts. Like, to bring that character back that already had all kind of controversy, and now we're bringing it in again as an evil. Can't trust them because you don't know where they stand, and we still can't trust them.
I have this feeling there will be a surprise attack from the Neimoidians. I don't know why. That's what I think. So we're gonna find out.
Digging the Red Troopers, by the way.
Oh yeah, the TIE pilot, the Ace, very Red Baron, Baron von Richtenberg, right?
Ooh, Manfred von Richthofen.
Yeah, well,
You can
like
check
this.
that. You can look that up if you want. Oh yes, or the guy
So-
Snoopy's
The
chasing.
Baron.
Yeah,
He got
that's
the
the red.
Baron.
That's the red
That's a
tie right
Fokker
there.
1915 Tri-Wing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Don't even go against this guy.
He got the red Baron
unless
out,
you've got an aluminum hull, right? Unless you've got
Yeah,
aluminum
because I got the other
airframe,
one
then
right
you're-
here.
That's like the camel. I like it.
You always want to be like this. You don't want to be like this.
No. A lot of guys saw it, didn't see that coming, right? Anyway, that's enough about the Red Baron and his exploits.
Jaeger's pretty interesting. I like his demeanor and the way he relates and just tries to do his best to keep Kaz in line and stuff and keep reminding him because he's sort of like his surrogate father, on the boat.
I got that vibe, right?
And trying to keep Kaz in focus. Keeping Kaz focused is a task because he's everywhere. Where he's not supposed to be and everything. And I'm just like, dude, are you an idiot? Or what's just going on here and everything. I love what the analogy that T Mitch said. It is like the father living vicariously.
He's a coach's son. Yeah.
Now he's got a college coach. That this is the type of coach that is not going to talk about his pedigree and his talent. He's going to talk about hard work's going to get you there. Hard work. You got to wake up in the program. You got to do your lifting. You got to be at your meetings.
Yep.
And you know what? If you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. And that's just how it's going to be. A day off? I don't think so.
Right.
That's not how we run stuff here. Those disciplinarian guys, like I don't know, Bobby Knight's an example of a guy that has
for sure, yeah, right? For sure, yeah.
So yeah, I feel like that's the case, and it's interesting because like we don't get a lot of those. Like, there's not a lot of like competitive nuance in Star Wars, right? I mean, this sort of thing where it's almost like a NASCAR league that they have going on here,
right?
So we don't see a lot of those sort of long-term competitive team sports, just because culturally, it's, we just don't see it. Right. So it's interesting to get that look.
Who has time to have fun in Star Wars?
And
we don't see a lot of that. Not a lot of fun in the Star Wars.
We didn't see Doza, like the mastermind behind this whole thing, and the fact that our boy, his first race is against this guy's daughter. I mean, there's a lot of meat there, and I think we're gonna get, I think Doza is more than just the owner of the tower, where the food is good, where the bed sheets are clean, and you get everything you need. I mean, I think that's where Kaz is going to have to get himself into, and he's going to have to build a relationship with this girl. What's her name? I can't. It's interesting. It's like Sabine. It's like an interesting
Tora.
Yeah.
Like, there's his in. There's our spy in. He's got to get into this family, and because that's where the money is. That's where the money's controlled. And if the First Order has any interest in this base or whatever we're calling it, it's like the hovering Bespin Cloud City thing.
NASCAR Bespin.
NASCAR Bespin. If they have any interest in this place, it's going to be building a relationship with this guy, because that's where the money flows.
You know what's wild about this, though? Like, when you talk about like money flows and all this, we've literally seen this in the prequels. Like, so when they had Watto and the stuff happening with young Anakin, you don't think that, like, we talk about money laundering, that the Imperial, the Empire was running their money through this to kind of like filter it? You don't think Watto and all those guys were involved with that? They knew. So like, it just seems so naive of this New Republic to not know like this, like,
oh my God,
illegal type betting. You know what I mean? Like, how do you? There's no check and balance, and like, we're running all this money through here. Like, you're not inspecting what's going on. There may be like a new evil rising, and it's like, oh no, it's nothing. I don't know why we have a resistance. Everything's calm in the galaxy. Like, I just find it like this. The Republic's so goddamn naive about everything. Like,
they're dumb.
They're stuck in a Barbie movie or something. They're stuck in Barbie world. Like,
in Andor, we are, in Andor, Mandalorian, we saw dirty stormtroopers. We saw stormtroopers that were like disenfranchised. Now they're working for the mob, and they were all like beat up. They couldn't shoot any better than anyone else.
Never do.
And they were just trying to they were trying to get through life. And they landed in the place where basically, I think we're all saying this whole thing starts. This is how empires are built, in complacence and, neglect and ignorance, and not seeing the big picture, and not being able to make a change, and still relying on thoughts and ideas that are old. Like update yourself, update your brain so that you can see down the road, you can see what's coming. But you know what? I don't want them to, because that's how these stories are made. And what do we want to do? Solve Star Wars? Solve the problem?
We could get frustrated all we want, and they do this, but at the same instance, we still need these stories to continue.
But what are you supposed to do when
more Star Killer bases and Death Stars? Because
I don't want them to keep being repetitive with okay, the one empire falls, another order arises and stuff. So for Rise of Skywalker ends, what is there going to be another order that arises? And and the time span between everything that happens is so small that it's like their memories must just be super short, because like T. Mitch is saying, they're either idiots or just naive or something, where they can't figure out, okay, this thing happened over 100 years ago or over 75 years ago and stuff. Still got to be people that have lived through that time, that experienced a certain thing. Why not warn them about the future, or even some people in political power or whatever?
Because the people in political power have it's against the interest of the people in power to do those things. And the reason has to be very simple, and it's that, ending the empire was very effectively a coup d'etat. I mean, it was an action against, from the top, and it would make a lot of sense if there was still a constituency, as I've said. What's interesting to me is that what Palpatine did is he took over all the legitimate government apparatus, and then also took over all the illegitimate, non-governmental organization apparatuses, by taking over all the crime syndicates and the Black Hand and all that stuff, right? So when the people who were idealistic young people like Mon Mothma took Palpatine on and ended the empire by capturing Coruscant and starting a republic, they weren't thinking about rooting out the corruption that is endemic, that really is the point of the imperial mechanism from culture. And because they didn't root out that organized crime, Palpatine and his organization is still sitting on top of that. It's almost like a shadow government. And in some places, it's going to be stronger and more influential than the New Republic. And those are the places where you're going to get the First Order people, and the people where if you sent, an investigator to see if they were, sending a bunch of military technology somewhere, right? They lie to them and obfuscate it. And without the Jedi to go in and tell, hey, this person's lying to me, and solve those things, the New Republic it's ultimately blind. They're blinded by that. So there is a significant portion of the people who probably were inside the imperial governmental apparatus, who are inside the New Republic apparatus. None of those people want the New Republic to succeed. None of those people want the New Republic military to be given the authorization to stop the First Order from doing anything. And they're preventing that from happening. So there has to be a non-governmental action to oppose it. And that's what the resistance is.
Yeah, and we say that a lot. You mentioned Palpatine and how we talk about it a lot. He's in the background. He's waiting to see.
Still, he literally at this point, he really is in the background.
He's still thinking about what somehow means to him.
Well, and he's going to be there. So when the shit hits the fan, he's going to be there as the controller, the backup. He's going to take care of it, and he might fall on the New Republic side. That very well. He spent a lot of his life in that world. He spent a lot of his life unpacking that and looking at how these different syndicates, the banking guild, and how he can influence that, and how he can live behind the scenes and nobody knows. I mean, that's the point, right? That's what a Sith does. It lies. It's deceit. But is that bad? I mean, is that really all that bad? Because look at how things turned out. We're still talking about this. No, nothing's blown up, really. I mean, everyone's still, there's people that thrive and there's people that don't. And that's exactly like what we're living right now.
And I start to feel Ken's lightsabers.
Yeah.
Ken, your lightsaber's starting to change colors a little bit from what I'm hearing.
Ooh.
You know, I mean, but you know what's crazy when we discuss this show, and it's always a shitty part about our show, right? Because it always has to come back to this, like okay, we said that this came out in 2018, right? And then we talk about everything like this is how you know that Star Wars has been a fucking dumpster fire, because they fixed Leia with Obi-Wan and basically said she was Force sensitive as a child, which we knew, right? And then in this show, like, so how do you have somebody in the New Republic and you don't show off her abilities, or like, you know what I mean, her intuition? Like, this is how you know they had no idea what they were doing with the movies.
We're just starting. We're just
Come
into
on,
this just a little bit.
They're not going to show that she has any Force intuition. I mean, I just think this is the beginning of like.
I mean, that's why she's a good general.
Who knows?
All those generals all great generals have a sixth sense. Like
right.
All of them. Napoleon, Alexander, Caesar, they have this idea where they can see everything and understand where things are, especially.
Well, you know what they are. They were all chiss. We can go back in time and now say that they were like chiss. They all had battle meditation.
Well, Leia has some form of battle meditation. I mean, Coder made that canon, so we know there's a light side battle meditation.
Correct.
Thanks to Bastila.
Correct.
So thank you very much to LucasArts Games for hooking us up with that. So I think that makes sense. But having Leia in a series like this and then not having like, I want a little bit more of that. Like, like if it's hinted at that Poe is Force sensitive, right? And that's how he's able to do the things he's able to do in the cockpit, right? Then it's his intuition telling him that he should be talking to Kaz. And if that's the case, shouldn't Leia's intuition be telling her the same thing instead of the opposite?
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, I don't know. It's a cool show, but it muddies the waters a little bit for me.
And it's interesting. We should do a show just on Force sensitivity and what does that
that's gonna. Hitch has already tried this. That's going to be a tough one because, like I said, we're letting people learn the Force in 3 weeks now.
from I can't feel it.
It's an argument to be made how fast Luke Skywalker learned, like his Force sensitivity and everything.
How are we introduced to the Force?
Our recollection. Luke had it in his blood. This girl isn't even like. Yeah. This girl wasn't even. She wasn't even a Vizsla to say she had the Force. She was just.
But Obi-Wan told Luke, the Force is an energy that surrounds us and binds us. It's in all beings. It's in every living thing. There isn't one living sentient being that is not Force sensitive.
Yeah, well, there's almost everybody can make a sound, but not everybody can sing, man.
That's a good point.
I don't know. Listen to punk rock in the 80s. I mean, there's a lot of singing going on.
There was a lot of sounds too,
Yeah. And this time of year, everyone's singing Christmas carols. Everyone's singing. Now, there's different levels of it. Like, do I want to listen to that person sing again? Do I want to listen to that person throw a rock across the room or watch them throw a rock across the room? Sure. But you get. The Force is just it's in everyone. Everyone has this capability. It's just levels.
So your answer to how many
you've got a basketball, can you throw it 500 yards down a field and get it through the basket? Probably not.
So you are a Force democratist. So your answer to out of 100 beings in the Star Wars universe, how many of them are Force sensitive? You would say 100.
100.
And shut up.
And that's the way I understand it. I'm just going by the scripture. I'm just going
the scripture has changed. The scripture has definitely changed as of
But that's not unusual, as I think I've mentioned. That's not unusual when we're talking about the foundation of religion, and what happens in the second and third generation is that there's this they start deciding what is the story we're telling here, and how do we want to tell it, and then it changes the canon, which is what we call it the same thing. It's from the term means what books and poems and stories are going to be incorporated in the actual Bible. So what they were deciding at the Council of Nicaea during the later Roman Empire. So, it makes sense that that's happening right now with Star Wars. Not that it's a religion, but it's having a similar structure, right? Because it's a story that was told. It's a story that was told in one generation, and it's now we're in at least the third generation, I think. And we're still
the third.
So I think the original trilogy. I mean, if you just look original trilogy,
we're about to be in a third generation. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, right? So
whatever story they decide they want to make up.
so they could. This stuff could change. I mean, we could be talking about. Okay, well, originally it was supposed to be very rare. There weren't any Jedi at all. There were like 6 Jedi in the whole galaxy. But over time, our theological ideas changed, and we decided that it was more democratic. There were way more Force-sensitive people, and it was the Republic had its head up its ass in a lot of ways. One way was that it didn't understand that everybody was capable of this Force sensitivity. They were only training the certain very, very easy to train people. Like that's the way they'd see it, right? Like they weren't even trying to train the hard people at all.
People that demonstrated easy looks. Like we see this guy, he definitely has Force abilities, like for sure. Okay, put him in school. These other people, let them sort of meander through life and do, they'll excel in different things. And, like Han, could a non-Force sensitive being navigate an asteroid field? We know that's almost improbable, right? According to 3PO, almost improbable to navigate an asteroid field that's constantly changing. What did Han do? Flew right through it like it was nothing. That's Force sensitivity. That's being able to see several steps ahead and playing chess, but in reality.
So you're not calling him a good pilot. You're saying he has Force sensitivity.
Han Solo Force sensitive.
What's the difference?
Man. See, this is I think another.
I get what Ken is saying, but it's not. The math is still not math, and Ken. I don't know.
There we go. I like that.
It's an interesting theological question. I think, Ken, you posited correctly, and it's is Han Solo Force sensitive? I think that's the other thing, is it's how prevalent is it, and are those talents, or we just simply to understand the font of those talents is the Force, and that's all. That's the only place that they come from. If they exist, in the Force.
What happened? dun, 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 dun.
We have all flown in the Falcon, right? You've done it in a video game. You've done it. Either you've gone to Smuggler's Run.
I've done it. Yeah, I've done it a few times in real life. I've drove the Falcon.
It's not easy. I mean, this thing is like. I think the idea is you're driving a washing machine through a lava field. I mean, it's very difficult. Very difficult. So in order to maneuver this vehicle, you got to have more than just raw talent. I think you get a little bit of, I mean, think about the Force. Like
that's like saying you're going from
steps ahead.
An 80s Continental to like a Chevy Metro, bro. It's just a big boat. You got to get used to, you know what I mean? And now you have the new small kind of maneuverable car. That was just a boat compared to anything else. So he was used to driving that classic car. That's
all on his left. It's like just all over here.
Right.
He knows he's on one side. Yep. He would just be lining up with that white line on the right.
Right.
Or maybe you conceptualize. See, the B-Wing, I've always thought that maybe the Millennium Falcon had some of the stuff with the B-Wing going on where you would, in your mind, it would be under you. You'd be like on your side. I don't know.
What a ridiculous ship this was. The B-Wing bomber, who the hell would fly this? And it had no shield. It had no shield. So it's just like dropping bombs, right? and getting blasted out of the sky because they're like, well, we don't need this thing to be protected. We're going to send X-Wings out there to, knock out the front line. And here's this thing coming along real slow, dropping bombs and getting picked off left and right.
Dropping bombs that are run by gravity in space where there's no gravity, by the way. Stuff doesn't fall down in space. That's just not the direction it falls.
Based on Ken, though, I guess
things fall backwards in space.
I guess nobody on the B-Wing would be force sensitive since they were so easily picked off, right?
But wait a minute, wasn't that
Rose?
Wasn't Rose's sister on the thing with the talisman?
Yes.
Again.
Oh, yeah, sacrificial
lamb.
This
is why there's such a debate, right? Because sometimes they make you think, hey, there's no force sensitivity around. It's a very, very exclusive club. And sometimes they make you think, you know what? If you really tried really hard,
if you really wished upon
if you really tried really hard and you found a Jedi
hard enough, if you wish upon a star, you will be able to use the Force.
If you find the Well of Souls, they
can. Yeah, I mean, so right now we're saying,
and you can get past the snakes.
Right.
It's always snakes. Han's like I hate snakes.
So the
Why does it have to be snakes?
The Force Awakens is really just as title of all the new characters out of the Force. So now we've established that Rey, Finn, Poe, Rose. Let's keep going. Who else? I mean, all we got to do is double tap A, and everybody can double jump.
Yeah,
that's where we're at.
Don't forget that Grogu's still rolling around out there.
Oh,
and now Ahsoka and Sabine have both been easily separated out, and probably can skip. We can give them a bye through the whole Thrawn trilogy. That we're gonna get the Tron trilogy. Tron? Yeah, I did say Tron.
You said Tron.
Any of you guys see Tron? No.
So yeah, I mean, so now we've established down to this new sequel trilogy, we have like 9 people that are force sensitive, and only 1 are trained.
Let's talk about Tron real quick. So,
sorry guys.
So Flynn was a program. He was a user. Is that the Force? Does he have a little bit of extra? I mean, he wasn't really any different. I mean, there were some programs down there on the grid that they could fight.
You positing, Ken, that the Star Wars galaxy is just a simulation? It's fictional entirely?
Oh, you know what? I would love to be digitized into the Star Wars universe.
Wait 10 years and that's going to be, I'm sure that's an experience that'll be available.
Yeah. That's probably going to be a possibility.
Do some cardio. Make sure
sign me up.
T. Mitch will be right there with you. He'll be right there.
Right now, I'm not.
We'll open up new credit cards.
Just like how he does the Disney like every quarter.
T. Mitch is going to retire to a closet where he's got one of those VR headsets on, just living in there. He's just never going to log out.
No, I can't. Like Red Player One, I'm not into that. That's crazy.
How many gigabytes have you used? 650,000 gigabytes a second. I need more power.
He said, "This is better than Disney. I'm never going to Disney again."
There'll be a whole thing. A whole thing will be like Star Trek fans going into the Star Wars universe and pretending they're playing Star Trek and saying stuff like, "I need more power," and everyone hating on him. I could just see that being a thing. Engage. We don't say engage.
I'd like to ride a light cycle.
I'm an engineer, not a bricklayer. What the hell does he say? Something like that.
I think it's I'm a doctor, not a magician.
Oh, I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer, right?
Man, this is wild. I'll say that. I mean, but it's a fun show. It really is. I mean, I'm excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, I'm like I said, the 4th episode got me on board. I'm right there. I'm right there too.
So we'll get. So we're gonna get what, 5 to 8?
Well, yeah, 5 to 8. Sounds good. Sounds about right.
Guys, I thought the
last chunk, I think we got to do like 5 or 6 episodes. The last, just to finish it off.
We'll line it up right. I thought there was going to be like 8 episodes of this. Like when I just until I looked.
when we started, I thought that too. I was like, oh, it's going to be like another 8 to 10 episodes, and I looked and I was like, wait, what?
20 hours? Like, oh god, like what are we doing?
Like,
How many episodes now?
Yeah.
Where did this go? Where did it come from? You know,
How do we not even notice this? Like,
And
we were
what?
doing this show. This was being released.
We really dropped the ball. We're like the Steelers in like the third quarter, and we got a lead, and we just said, "Bruh."
This is the wrong show for that.
I wish they released Hell in
Hey,
December.
I will say this as of before I got on the show. This has been one of the first times I ever wanted to walk out a movie in my life.
Here we go. Yeah, you're gonna
VP. VP. I'm telling you this now. Please go because I'm telling you, you'll want to walk out. This is the worst CGI. This was the worst CGI I've ever seen.
That is
when you went to see Titanic, didn't you want to walk out?
Bro, this is crazy.
Isn't it just is it just 2 hours of him talking to fish, like just having conversations? Like, so how have you been, Larry? And the fish are just like,
listen, it's bad. Like, no, this is why they reset it. I'm telling you, this is bad in 19. This is worse than 1984.
This is what killed it all, huh? Okay, well,
this is the final blow. Mantis was cool. Mantis was dope, but like,
at least my expectations are way down now. You know.
Please,
is it like Conversations with Crush? Like, did you see that?
I have no idea. This must be some 80s shit before I was born.
Okay, look at the time. Oh man.
whoa,
Like 76 or something. I don't know, bro. Crush. I know Crush the wrestler.
No,
I know Orange Crush.
The sea turtle from Finding Nemo.
Oh, bro, I didn't watch that. I'm sorry. Yeah.
You didn't go.
That's my bedtime. Yeah, that's my bedtime, unfortunately.
I hate Aquaman.
just.
I mean, he's all water and no talk.
all right,
Oh,
time to go watch Rogue One again.
Right. Yeah. This is Ken's time to put his bedtime show on, which is Rogue One.
Rogue One and Andor. I'm going to watch the whole thing.
Yeah. That's how. No, guys, it's been a fun show.
Orders.
Right? Definitely, he follows whatever Disney tells him to.
Whatever they tell me. The mouse.
So, yeah, guys, we'll be back next week to continue this. We hope everybody has a happy holiday. So that's one of the things. Obviously, this will air now, but Monday, obviously, we won't be on. So hope however you celebrate your holidays, you have a happy holiday. We'll be back next week, and also keep an eye out for the Nerd Comic Psycho Flick Show. Hopefully, I can drag DP to the theaters this weekend so he can waste $16. I can't wait. I cannot wait. Oh, bro, it's crazy. But yeah, guys, I appreciate everybody coming on. Until next week, guys, this is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.